Hey guys, Paul here from familywheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And if this new C-Class coupe from Mercedes isn't one of the most beautiful, most elegantly designed, most classically styled little sports coupes that you've ever seen, I'm not sure what is, because I'm a sucker for a sedan or a station wagon typically. I'm a guy of practicality, but looking at this car and seeing all the beautiful lines on it has me succumbing to the siren's call of this beautiful C300. So this week, let's take it for a drive. Let's see if in fact we can make a coupe like this work for family life. That's all coming up this week on Family Wheels. I see the size of these back. So the C-Class coupe is completely redesigned for 2017, and it's gotten wider, it's gotten a little bit longer, certainly longer in the hood of the vehicle to give you that classic kind of protruding roadster type appearance. It actually, to me, from a distance, looks a lot like the S-Class coupe, a much more expensive vehicle in Mercedes line. It looks slick. But despite the fact that it's a bigger vehicle, it's actually weighing a little bit less. So we've got some clever use of aluminum in places that's really helping to bring the weight down on this car. Another impressive thing about this car is its starting price, which is fairly impressive for a Mercedes coupe. 48 grand, just over. And that includes standard equipment like this great big panorama sunroof, Mercedes 4MATIC all-wheel drive system, a 7-speed automatic gearbox including paddle shifters, this dynamic select function which allows you to cycle between eco mode all the way up to sport plus mode, so you can go from a much more efficient vehicle for just cruising along the highway to a bit more of a sporty ride. But you start piling on packages, and this tester that I'm in here today, which still has the base C300 platform with a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine on board, and this tester I'm in is just over $60,000. I've got things like the Premium Plus package, which is giving me navigation, it's giving me some extra safety features. I've got the Sport package, which is giving me some extra body panels on the outside to make it look a little bit sportier, some sportier brake systems. I have air ride suspension at an extra $1,800, and I've got a very fancy Burmeister sound system at an extra $1,000 as well. So yes, the price can climb pretty quickly, and here we are at just over $60,000 pre-tax. But I have to tell you, this week has been a very interesting study of contrasts for me, because if you remember, I was out in a Ford Mustang GT a couple weeks ago on the program, had a riot in that car. But, it wanted to go off the line. It was tensed up all the time and just wanted to gobble up the pavement. This, while a completely different class of car, let's be honest, still a coupe and is totally different in terms of its focus. In fact, I'm finding that with this car, it's not particularly eager off the line. It takes a little while for that turbo to spool up and really kick in. So it's not like you're accelerating really quickly off of a stop sign with this vehicle. But once you get it up to cruising speed, it is perhaps the most comfortable cruising vehicle that I've ever tested with you on the program. All right, welcome to the back seat on the C300, and you can see here that really, honestly, it's not a place that's designed for a 6'2" tall man. I'm very crunched in up here. One thing that's nice is that we do have this great big sunroof standard, so that kind of lightens things up back here. But in terms of space, yeah, I'm definitely feeling a bit crunched. There are some cool features about this back seat though. First up, we've got these cup holders here right in the center row, so it sits 4. Don't have a third seat right here in the middle, but these cup holders here are handy. We've also got these little storage bins on the side here, which are handy for rear passengers as well, storing things for kids if you've got them back here. Certainly kids could be comfortable in these back seats, and I will say that putting a car seat into this is much easier than in other coupes I've been in before. For example, that Mustang had these very sort of deep sport-like seats back here, and it meant that trying to access these latch points proved to be very difficult. Now, a front-facing car seat or a booster seat is going to fit beautifully for you. You're not going to have an issue at all, and the front seat can still slide forward enough and give you enough room. However, rear-facing proves to be a bit more of a challenge. I'm going to get to that a bit more for you in a minute. Here's something else which is kind of cool about the back seat here. In this little sort of second area here, it's a 40-20-40 split. So in this 20 split zone, you can actually slide this forward and put longer items like skis, like you know, boards, planks of wood, whatever you've got through here while still being able to accommodate 4 passengers. So since this car does come standard with all-wheel drive and it can be a year-round driver, nice to know that you can haul a pair of skis in here as well fairly easily and still haul some passengers around at the same time. Here's something else which is kind of cool. I'm going to slide this this seat forward, or I'm going to slide the seat back so you can see as the seat slides back, it will actually sense my legs and stop. There it goes. It just sensed my legs, and now it's going to slide forward just a little bit too to give me a bit of extra leg room. That's a clever little feature, so I'm not going to get scrunched in back here quite so much. But when I do go to get out of this car, I slide it like this. The electronic seat slides forward, and it's a bit of a slow process, a bit slower than I'd like, and kind of be a little bit tedious once you've got a kid back here and you're getting them in and out all the time. Let's move on to the trunk now. Oh, I have to try and get out of here. Are you kidding? Okay. Okay. Now that I'm out of that rear seat here, let's take a look at the trunk. There are a few ways that you can access the trunk. You've got a button on your key fob. You've got a switch on the driver's side, or on this tester that we've got, you can also use your foot like this to open the trunk. But to be honest, it's not been particularly reliable, and sometimes it's more of a pain than a convenience. There we go, I got it. So you can see the trunk here is actually reasonably sized at 400 liters, just slightly smaller than the C-Class sedan's trunk. One thing I did notice though is that the load floor isn't completely flat. You can see here that it actually rises up toward the back there, and that hump does make it trickier to haul around, you know, taller, longer items. Another thing to keep in mind is that while this car has a kind of cute little butt on the back of it, it also makes it a little bit tricky to load tall items. For example, I tried to load a tall Rubbermaid into this trunk earlier this week, and while the height exists here, getting it into that zone proved a little bit difficult. In fact, I couldn't make it happen. So that's just something to keep in mind as well when it comes to the trunk capacity on this car. Trunk capacity on the Cabriolet is likely going to be much less as well, because they obviously need to store that convertible roof somewhere, right? Now finally, let's take a look at that rear-facing car seat and what it's going to do for legroom up here. It's not ideal. We've got about 8 inches of legroom in total. That's going to be really challenging for me to climb in, but for comedy's sake, let's do it. Here I go. Oh, yeah, that's not happening. When I'm when that car seat is front facing, sure, we can make this work, but you can see here my headroom's maxed out. I've got 0 leg room. Yeah, rear facing car seats in this C300, not gonna pan out quite so well for you, but once they get into front facing car seats, boosters, that sort of thing, you're good to go. Now the seats, unless you're jammed right up there, are in fact very, very comfortable in this car. If you're going for the base model of the C300, you're going to get a faux leather product, although it's very convincing from Mercedes and very tough as well. We've bumped it up a notch here and we have leather seats on board. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're looking at these leather seats, they do have all those perforations, which are a challenge to keep clean, although they look very cool. Another thing is with all of these various adjustability points here that we've got on this tester, one thing that you can do is adjust the thigh supports, and those slide forward right there. If you're a taller driver and you've got long thighs, you can play around with that a little bit, but you can see that that nook there is going to fill up with all kinds of grime. It's going to be a bit of a challenging zone to keep clean. Well, it seems my endless summer cruising has taken a bit of a hiatus here because this impressive summer squall has just passed through, and I think it might be accompanied by some hail. So I tried to find some overhead coverage because I definitely don't want to return this car all dinged up. But a good chance to put a wrap on the C300. I think that if you're looking for an amazing looking cruiser that still has all-wheel drive capability for year-round driving up here in Canadian winters, and you don't want to have something that is, you know, a crazy sports car, by all means, the C300 could be a great option for you. However, if performance is something that's a high priority for you, I would seriously consider holding off and trying out that turbocharged V6 as well, because I think that's going to help bring this car off the page a lot more. Another thing to note too here is the fact that if you haven't looked at the redesigned C-Series sedan, take a look, man, because that is a good looking car, and it comes in at a starting price at $5,000 less than this coupe that we're in here today. Certainly a bit more functional for families as well. Coupe or sedan, either way, Mercedes has packed a lot of value into these cars, even at the base price. Some of these standard features are really blowing my mind. This is a slick car, even at the $48,000 base price point. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, though, on this new C-Series coupe. You can leave a comment below. Love to have you subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter at Family Wheels and check out all of our car reviews at familywheels.ca. Now, it looks like maybe this system is passed, so I'm going to get that final bit of cruising in, and we'll see you in about 7 days.